Hello and welcome to the Stammerer. Today we're going to be looking at the Symmetros 2 and how good is it. So welcome back, and we're going to be looking at the Symmetros 2. So Symmetros 2 I got as part of to see if I could spend £100, and part of the stipulation of that was to see if I could get a pair of everyday shoes for X amount of money. And the stipulation was that I had to get a pair of shoes that I've never owned, and they could either be a pair for every day, or a tempo shoe, or a race shoe but with a carbon plate. And whilst looking for the Energy Float Ride, so number 4 or number 5, so something like this number 4, I discovered that I could get a Symmetros 2 for £28. So let's talk about the Symmetros 2. So unlike what I have in my other hand, a Float Ride Energy 4, there's a bigger stack height in these, 10mm the drop. The upper is actually really plush upper. It's a really nice upper. The heel counter on the shoe is really quite thick. There's a plastic bit towards the back. So the tongue itself is like a sock and fits inside the shoe there. So it's quite a comfortable, quite a nice fit. The toe box, however, is an interesting one, because if you compare the number 4, so the Energy Float Ride 4, I don't have the number 5. Toe boxes on this started to sort of become quite wide. It is a really interesting shoe because it actually looks really nice. I love this. This is like the classic. I absolutely love the colourway of this shoe. It looks really nice. So the lockdown of the shoe feels quite strange. So I'd probably say 2/3 across the shoe. So from the heel all the way through to where you put in your foot, and then where the lace ends here. The toe box is quite wide, and there's a lot of kind of excess there, so it kind of feels as if you're not locked in to the shoe. So it's strange how it's quite a nice bit there, and then you kind of seem to have all this space here in the front, which I guess makes sense, because if you put this on for a longer run, then your toes will expand. So that's the point of this shoe, is that you take this out on a long run and your feet will expand, and that's what this is for here. So initially, when you're on a run, and especially if you have the length in your feet but not the width, this can feel quite strange at first, which is what I experience. Is I've got the length but just not the width in the shoe, so at first it feels quite odd, but then after you've done some miles in it, it actually then kind of makes sense. So the upper's really nice. The midsole hasn't actually changed in a couple of years, so even looking at the NG5 this year, which I don't have yet, other than they've changed the shape and the shape of the sole of the tread underneath, it's essentially the same sole. So the midsole on this hasn't changed. So the Float Ride that they use in here is I think it's a good all-round foam. The foam on here is just a kind of all-round, and it will last a long time. So if you were looking for a shoe with the foam will last is explosive enough, but will last a long time, and has that in between. It's not too soft, isn't too hard. It just doesn't. It's just an all-round good experience. And then when you compare that to the sole, the tread on this, you have these massive lugs, which are the same on the Symmetros 2 as the Energy 4 and the Energy 3, or first one. They really do work. And you know, I use the Reebok Float Ride Energy 3 for trails, you know, for anything. And this shoe has been around. I mean, I've had this shoe for 2.5 years, and I've cleaned it up, and it actually looks pretty new. It looks really, really good. So, what is this shoe for, and who is this shoe for? So, I think this is a bit of a, it strikes me as being a bit of a confused shoe, not necessarily by the shoe itself. So this shoe wants to be a kind of longer run shoe, but I would actually use this. This is quite a fast shoe, so for me, I'd be happy to use this as a faster shoe in terms of, because it's heavier, but I also feel like I could run quicker paces in it. This would be a good sort of shoe to kind of get yourself quicker whilst having something a bit heavier on you. So I would use this for a half, because I've used the Energy 4 for a half, and that was okay. So there's definitely more support in this shoe, and there's definitely more foam. So I would use this for a half, but I wouldn't go any further than that, and I should tell you for why. So I think anything more than a half, and I think you're gonna get issues, and the foam is supportive enough, but it's not, I don't think it's supportive enough to do 26.2 miles. Even though there's a thicker stack here, I feel like it just really, it just lacks that, what you want in a longer run, in a longer run race. You could, if this is the only shoe that you could own and to buy, of course you could. But for me personally, after I took this out, and initially I didn't feel any discomfort at all, and I did something like 10 miles in it, and it was initially fine, but it wasn't until the next day that I really felt a little bit of pain. And when I look at shoes, it's really important for me, because I've got some plates and some screws in my spine, so I really know if something isn't going to support me. And as much as this does or did support me, because of the way that I run, I'll either feel it in my back or the knees. And with the shoe, as much as it was good out there, the next day I did feel my back slightly. And also on the run as well, what puzzled me is there's this plastic piece at the back, which is, if you look at the heel there's this plastic piece here, and every so often I'd hit maybe a stone or I'd hit something. I mean, and I don't tend to run in the heel, so I'm not too fussed, but every while I would maybe like hit a stone and I'd feel this really weird like impact. So if you do heel strike, I would just be aware that there's this plasticky bit here that just feels a bit strange. Now, compared to my experience with the Float Ride Energy 4 and 3, this is definitely a shoe where they have definitely put more material in and a bit more thought on in terms of the comfort of this shoe, because it's definitely a bit more of a higher spec than the Energy 4, because this is a really good shoe. I mean, this is, for me, particularly around the price and what they do with the price. So you can get the Energy 5 for £49, and of the two, which ones should you get? That totally depends on what you want to do and how you feel the shoe. So if you want something with a bigger stack height, that's going to look nice, that you can wear, that you don't want to destroy, that will you be able to run for longer in them, I would go for the Symmetros 2. If you sort of want a shoe where the stack isn't as high, the upper I think is slightly better, it's definitely a lighter shoe. It will still do everything that the Symmetros 2 can do. I just think that the Symmetros 2 will go for longer before you start to feel anything other than the shoe. And for £49, you're not really going to be fussed if you kind of destroy the shoe. Not that you can, to be fair. But this is the 4. You can still pick up the 4, which is really, really good. So my final thoughts on this shoe is that for £28, an absolute bargain of a shoe for brand new £28. The upper is a strange one. It's really supportive, comfortable. It's really, really comfortable. The toe box is a bit weird, but I actually quite like the upper. I like the look of it and I like the feel. I understand what they're trying to do here with the box in the front, because this shoe is meant for a longer run, so your feet will expand, and I guess that's what that's for. But if you just want to wear the shoe and go on like a shorter run, it's going to feel a little bit weird at first. The foam, again, it's the same foam as they've had for 2 or 3 years. If you've had a pair of Energy 3, 4, 5s, Symmetros 1, you know exactly what it is there. It's responsive, perfect between hard and soft, and the outsole, the grip on here is absolutely fantastic. I would take this anywhere at all. Would I pay £140 for the shoe? No, I wouldn't. I think around about, if you can pick this up between £65 to £85, I think absolutely, because this will last you. This shoe will last, and it will do. I think you'd easily get this up to about 500 miles, 600 miles, and it'd still be absolutely fine. So £120, £140 I think is too much for this shoe. I'd be more happy around the 85 mark to 90. £28 is best, and I just think it's a fantastic shoe. I think it's a really, really good shoe. It's probably not as maybe as refined as something like a Pegasus. I'm talking about the Pegasus 39. Symmetros 2, really surprising. Really glad that I was able to find this shoe and finally pick it up, and I'm really glad that I have. So I'd give this a good solid 7.5 out of 10. So good shoe. And on that note, I'll see you in the next one.